Morning everyone, my name's Tamlyn and this is Sewn on the Tyne and welcome back to another video of Daily Snippets. It's now Wednesday, I'm still on half term so I'm off work and I thought I'd take you along for a little bit of my day. In terms of plans for today, they're quite open. I haven't got anything really organised, so I thought I would do a bit of sewing and take you along with that. I think I'll work on my Lee Mayfair dress and get that finished off. That is a time pressured project as it's for a funeral in a couple of weeks' time, so I do need to get that done. Here she is. Hello. No show without zigs, is there? So I do need to get that done and I'd rather not be stressed about it sort of as we get closer to the funeral. So I think I'll get that done first. I've also got a pattern test to work on, so I need to get that pattern cut out and sewn up, which shouldn't take too long. I've got plans to film a sit down video later on and get some blog photos taken. So yeah, a few things going on today. I'm also possibly expecting a parcel or two in the post, so I will share with you what I receive. Oh, and just for those of you who are wondering, I know yesterday I talked about us going for our 20-week scan. Just to let you know, everything was wonderful. Baby is growing perfectly, really healthy. Everything's looking as it should at this point. So it was really, really exciting to hear their little heartbeat and just see them again. It was really wonderful. We're past halfway now and reality is kicking in. We need to start getting ourselves sorted. This room, which is currently my sewing room, will become the baby's nursery. So we've got plans over the next few weeks to get things moved around in the house. Our bedroom, which is on the top floor of the house, is going to move down onto this level into where Sam's office is now. My sewing room and Sam's office are going to be combined on the top floor of the house into what was our bedroom, so we'll have a shared space, but it's a nice big room, so that'll be fine. And then this will be the baby's nursery. So we've got lots to do. I may need to condense my fabric stash, so I'll probably be working on that soon and I'll show you what happens. So, Ziggy, she is trying to get into my camera case, which is interesting because the camera case is about this big and Ziggy is about this big, so don't think you're gonna fit, pet. You won't fit in there. So I'll go on and get on with a few things and I'll speak to you again soon. Bye. Hi everyone, I'm back, and just to let you know that no sewing or actually anything has gone on since I last spoke to you because I've been having a nap. This pregnant lady was tired and therefore I needed to nap, so that's what I did. I was only awoken by the postman at the door, who delivered a little bit of fabric. So I'll show you that a bit later, it's still in the parcel downstairs. So that woke me up wide awake because the doorbell is very loud and I'm now awake. So I'm going to crack on with my Mayfair dress. So I explained that this one is being made for a funeral. It's this beautiful Lady McElroy viscose jersey with this floral design all over, which is really lovely. I'm making the maxi length version of the Mayfair dress. I had to cut these sleeves to 3/4 length because I didn't quite have enough to make the maxi sleeves, but it's the maxi length dress and I think it's going to be beautiful and suit my bump really well. I'm just up to step 5 in the instructions, which is where you do the burrito method for the collar facing, so I thought I would try and film me doing that. Try being the operative word. Let's see if it works. So what I need to do is lay the dress out flat with the wrong sides together, so the right sides will be on the outside of the fabric. The fronts will be spread apart so that the layers of fabric are minimised, and then the top is going to be the right side of the back of the dress. And then I'm going to start at the bottom hem and roll it up tightly, the whole thing, up into a sausage, all the way up to the collar. So yeah, so it looks like a sausage. And because it's the maxi version, you have to roll really tightly to get that nice and rolled up. Then you're going to pull the collar facing round until the raw edge meets the raw edge of the back neckline seam, and the rest of the dress will be sort of inside that, all rolled up. and then I'm going to pin that together and sew it up. So that's what I'm going to do. Let's see if we can manage. So I've come downstairs to film this because there's just not enough space in my sewing room. I need all of the floor space. I've also got a couple of really helpful cats here, so this is going to be fun. But let's attempt the burrito method on this maxi length dress. So I've got a nice little roll there. Just need to keep it going. Let's move this up. So there we go, we've got our sausage shape. Let's see. I think it looks a bit more like a croissant, but you know. So the next step is to pull the collar facing around the sausage until the raw edges meet the raw edges of the back neckline seam. And then we're going to pin the facing so that its centre seam matches the centre back, and then pin all along the back neckline between the shoulder dots, or the ends of your shoulder seams. So let's give that a go. And there we go, I have pinned that or clipped it in place, and I'm going to go up to my sewing machine now and I'm going to sew along that seam along the same line as I did on the centre back seam. The back neckline seam, that's what it's called. I'm going to sew along there. It does recommend possibly using a zipper foot because you've got the excess of the sausage that's going to be joined onto it as well. So I'll just see how I get on and I will let you know which foot I use. So I'm back upstairs at my sewing machine. I've got it threaded up with black thread, just black Gutermann thread. I'm using the same needle that I used yesterday on my ebony top, so it's the Classy stretch needles, and I've used the smaller size 75 because this fabric is just quite a lightweight viscose jersey. I am going to pop on my zipper foot so I can get really close up to, or well, along that neckline seam with that bulk of the sausage right next to where I'm sewing as well. So I'm going to pop this on now. So where I'm going to sew is along this line here. It's going to be reasonably easy to sew in this middle section, but then at these two end sections it's going to get a bit fiddly. So I think I'm going to start in the middle and sew out in one direction, then turn it over, start in the middle and sew out in the other direction. I think that'll be the best way to do it. Oh, this is not easy. Right, change of tactic. I think I'm going to go from the end towards the middle. I think there's more fabric available at the outside ends, so I'm going to start there instead. This is not easy. That's better. Right, that is one side complete. Sorry, the angle I've got you at, I'm trying to show you the sewing machine and show you this, but then that's also cutting my head off. Right, so now I want to flip this over and sew the other way. The only thing is that I don't have a seam line to follow because it's on this side. So, oh, Ziggy, what's up? Come on then. Here she comes. You know, Ziggy, in the comments yesterday, somebody called you the star of the show. Yeah. Do you think they're right? Are you the star of the show? She's going to plonk herself right there. Go on then. Go on then. Right, I'll move this a little bit and then I can see if I can manage it. I'm just popping a couple of pins in on the other side to show me where I need to sew. Okie dokie. So I'm going to flip it over and start from the other end. Not going in there, miss. I've done this once before, but it was on the knee-length version, so there was nowhere near as much fabric, and the fabric was lighter weight as well. This is somewhat of a challenge, and Ziggy now wants to play with the sausage. You playing? Little monkey. Too slow. Oh, got it. Well done. Don't break my dress though. Right. Here we go again. That wasn't enjoying itself. Right, I think I'm going to switch back to my normal foot and see if I can make that work a bit better, because there's just nothing holding it in place, so it's not really working very well. Right, let's try this instead. There we go, I like this better. So let's see if we can get all the way along to the centre. going to go over a little bit at the other end where it hasn't completely caught through both layers, all layers rather. Right, I think we are done. So, next thing we're going to do is gently and slowly pull on one end or side of the until the entire dress is freed from the tube and the right way out. Let's do that. You ready for some magic, Ziggy? And there we have it. So I've pulled it all the way through, and it just means that now that facing is completely enclosed in there, and it's really neat. So I think I'm pretty happy with that. Let's see what's next. So the next step is to match the dress fronts along the centre front, including the short end of the facing. Start your stitching, so that'll be right sides together. Start your stitching on the pointy ends of the collar facing, stitch up as far as the large dot, and then pivot. So we're going to go up this little line here, and then we're going to go down, all the way down the centre front to the hem. And then we're going to put a little snip in there and press open the centre front seam. I will probably finish that on my overlocker. And then you can secure the point of the facing to the centre front seam allowance with a few hand stitches to stop it appearing on the right side of the dress. So I did that on my other version, so I will do that. So I'm going to go and do that. So the centre front seam, I'm going to finish it, press it, and then I'll come back to you maybe when I'm doing this little bit of hand stitching. Just to be real with you, I just made a complete error and just saved it in the nick of time. I clipped together the two front bodice pieces, the two front dress pieces, all the way down, just was about to start sewing them, did my first couple of stitches and realised I'd done them wrong sides together. So I've just unclipped it all and now I'm clipping it all together, right sides together. What a silly sausage. I'll get on and do that now. So I've now sewn the front, centre front seam of the dress. I've snipped into the little point. I've overlocked all the way down the front to finish that, and I've pressed that over to one side. The next step is to just hand sew that collar facing in place just at the point. Let's see if I can find it. So that it doesn't show and like flip out and show on the front of the dress. Here we are. So it's just this section here. And I'm just going to literally put a few hand stitches in there to sew this bit to the seam allowance. So you won't see any stitches on the outside, but that will be held in place on there. Right, there we go. So that is hand stitched in place. Next step, let's put my needle back. Got this cool little prim gadget that keeps all your needles in. Really like it. Pop that in there. And let's see. So step 7 is to gather the dress front. So across the front of the dress, sort of underneath the bust, just like where the waist is, you sew a stretch of elastic and it gathers it all in at the front there. So I'm going to do that, but what I'm actually going to go and do first is try the dress on as best I can. Just see where the shoulder seams are sitting and then see where that elastic would fall and decide if I want to move it up a little bit, because I might want to in order for it to sit above my bump. So then when the waist ties come round, it's above my bump rather than sitting on my bump. So I'm going to go and do that and then I'll come back and let you know what I've decided. So I've tried the dress on and I'm happy with where the elastic's going to sit. It's in the place that I would want it to anyway. On page 2 of the instruction booklet, it gives you a chart to work out what length of elastic you need. So I've done that and I've cut my clear elastic here. You need to mark the centre of this, so I'm just going to do that with a little marking pen. I'm going to pin it on one side between the two dots that I've marked on from my paper pattern piece. I'm going to pin that, leaving a little bit of a tail, a 1-inch tail I think it suggests. Then I'm going to pin the other end between the two dots on the other side of the centre seam. It's going to end up like this. And then the centre should match up with the centre seam. So then it says, place your needle through the elastic and fabric in between one of the pairs of large dots and lower your presser foot. Stitch the elastic from one end to the other, stretching it all the way so it matches the fabric without any puckers. And then this gathers the fabric in between those two large dots. Then trim off your tails from each end. There is an alternative. If you don't want to use elastic, you could do gathering stitches instead. But I did the elastic on my other one and I'm happy with that. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I've done that now. I'll show you what it looks like. So this is the front of the dress. It's quite busy, the pattern, so you might not actually be able to see. So you can see this is the neckline here. And then this is where I've stitched the elastic on. So it's a zigzag stitch and you really have to pull that elastic as it goes through the machine to make sure that the fabric's not puckering. So I pull from the front and the back to make sure that it goes through the machine nicely and it's the same length as the fabric that I'm sewing it onto. And then the effect that you get is then that it all gathers all of that fabric in and it looks really pretty. But we've now got that elastic on show, so we need to make our waist ties, which are going to go over the top of that to then tie at the back or tie around the front. But yeah, the waist ties are what covers that up. Now, this is becoming a bit of a theme of mine, but I didn't have enough fabric to cut my 3 waist tie pieces on the fold. So you get a pattern piece that looks like this. This is where you place it on the fold and you're supposed to cut 3 of those on the fold to then join together. I didn't have a fold that I could use or even make a fold, so I've cut out 6 of this pattern piece, adding a bit for seam allowance, and I'm going to sew them all together first into one long strip. I'm going to press all those seams open, I'm going to fold it in half, stitch all the way down the long side and then one of the short sides, and that will be my waist tie. I just need to turn it the right side out and finish off the raw edge at the other end. So, let's get you back. There we go, we've now got our long tie, 6 pieces all sewn together. I'm going to go and press these seams open and then fold it right sides together, stitch along the long side and one short side. So I've sewn, no I haven't, I've sewn all of my seams on my waist tie, I've pressed them open, I've now clipped it all right sides together, ready to sew. I just have a slight problem, you can probably guess what that is. Let's see if I can show you. There we go. Hello! I love her so much. Oh, my tripod is falling off. So yeah, I've got a slight problem because my sewing machine is there, Ziggy is here, and I can't really get to it. So I think I'll just give her some attention and then I'll get to sewing this as soon as I can. Yeah, she wants all the attention. So my little Ziggy has gone now, so I've managed to sew my waist tie. So I've used a zigzag stitch and I've stitched all the way along the short edge and then the long edge. I've left one short edge open. I'm now going to trim this off. I'm going to snip across the corner first of all, so we'll get a nice sharp corner there, and I'm just going to trim some of the seam allowance off. I'm then going to turn it the right way out using a set of prim turning tools that I love. I'll show you those in a minute. So I've trimmed off the seam allowance now, or some of the seam allowance, so we've got less excess. And now I'm going to use this prim turning tool to turn it the right side out. So this comes in a set of 3. This is the large one, which I think is going to be the right size. What I'm going to do is drop the plastic tube into the open end of my tie, and I'm going to drop it all the way down. This is a long waist tie. Right, so I've dropped it all the way down to the bottom. I'm then going to use this end to poke the sealed end through, and then we're going to sort of pull it down, poke through until we're the right side out. Just be careful, I like to use the blunt end rather than the pointy end, because the pointy end can go through your fabric if you're a bit rough, so just be careful. So I'm going to use the blunt end and I'm going to poke that through, and then I'm going to start pulling that down. This is a long waist tie, so it might get a bit tricky. I've just put it down onto the desk, so I've got two hands to sort of do this end bit and try and get it all the way down. And there you go, we can see that the right side is now at this other end. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to start to pull that. Now while it's still all like this, I'm going to see if I can get the corners of my waist tie poked out, which I can. So we've now got a nice rectangular edge there. Right, this is where we're at now. There's the plastic tube. I've now got the right side of that, that's the wooden part of the turning tube in there. I'm just going to hold on to that for a second, and then I'm going to try and pull all of this the right way out. Oh, there's little bits dropping all over my desk from the tie. And there we go, and then I'm just going to drop the wooden tool through, and there we go. We have a tie all the way the right side out. I would highly recommend those Prim turn-in tools. They are really, really useful. So what I'm going to go and do is press this. I'm going to press it so that the seam allowance, or the seam there, is on one edge, so it's on one side, and then the other side is the folded edge, and then I'll come back. So I've pressed my waist tie so that the seam is on one edge, and what I've done now is I've pinned it onto the front of my dress so that it covers up the elastic. Again, it's such a busy print, it's very difficult for you to see, but I've pinned the centre of the waist tie into the centre seam of the dress, covering up the elastic. I've pinned on that side and that side, which is where the edge of the elastic is, and I'm just going to top stitch, so it's my iron beeping in the background, I'm just going to top stitch along the top and along the bottom of the waist tie, just between those two pins there, so that it just covers up that elastic, and then it's free after that. So I'm going to do that with just a straight stitch on my sewing machine. Right, so I've done that now. My waist tie is attached to the front of the dress. There we go, and there we go. It's really difficult for this to show up on the camera, but there, it's just attaching that centre section there, covering up the elastic. Another little silly thing that I did, I left one of the pins in and attempted to sew over it and snap my needle. So I've just had to replace the needle. Thankfully I had a couple of spares of that size of needle, so I've just replaced it, and the next step is to insert the sleeves. So you do that on the flat and you just have to ease them in, so I'm going to go and do that and then sew them, finish them on the overlocker and give them a really good press. So Ziggy has had the attention that she required and deserved, and she's coming back. Obviously not enough for Ziggy. Here she is. Soon as you know that I'm talking on camera, you want to come back, don't you? So I've done my sleeves. They are inserted and pressed. I just did them straight on the overlocker actually. I didn't do them on the sewing machine first because my overlocker was set up with black thread, and that's what I've used for my sleeves. And that's what I've used for the dress all over, so I thought I'll just do them straight on the overlocker. My next step is to sew the side seams under the sleeves and then all the way down the dress to the bottom. I'm going to do that straight on the overlocker, but I'm going to clip them together first, or I'm going to give Ziggy more tummy tickles. What do you think, Ziggs? So I'm back, and as you can see I'm now wearing the Mayfair dress that I've been working on today. So it's completely finished. I've hemmed the sleeves, I've hemmed the bottom, and I absolutely love it. I just think it's beautiful. I feel really comfortable in it. The tie around the waist sits at the perfect place above my bump, which is great. There's room for my bump to grow, which is great. And I'm really happy with this dress. I'm not going to film any more this evening. It's about 7:30 now. I probably am going to go downstairs and cut out some more projects. Probably those ebony tees and dresses that I was showing you the fabrics for yesterday. I'm going to maybe get those cut out while we're watching the football, but I won't film that because it's getting quite late now and I want to go and put my pyjamas on and take my makeup off and, you know, get ready for winding down for the evening. So whatever I do get done tonight, I will show you in tomorrow's video. Thank you again for watching. I hope you've enjoyed what you've seen today, and if you have, please like, subscribe and hit the notification bell to see more from me. Thanks for watching. Happy sewing. Bye. Sorry, Ziggy has distracted me somewhat.